All right, this is the regular meeting of the White Bear Lake Conservation District. It appears we have a quorum. I'd like to call the meeting to order. Second. We have a motion and second. All those in favor? Aye. Approved. Approval of agenda minutes from last month. Are there any changes that need to be made?
This agenda before the approval of the minutes.
Thank you.
Yep.
I'd like to approve today's agenda. If there are any changes?
Yes, under lake quality, this McComas report.
Yes.
Steve McComas was unable to make it this evening. He apologizes for that. He will be here in November.
Very good. Anything else on today's agenda? All right. So I move to approve the agenda.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. Approval for prior board meeting minutes.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
So moved. Public comments. We have nobody here from the public, so I don't think we have to go into that. New business. We have no new business. Unfinished business, nothing there. Report, action of events. So the executive committee did not meet last month. We are trying to get together with the commercial bay operators, hopefully before November's meeting. Next, Lake Level Resolution Committee. Barton, anything?
Yeah, as I said last time, we did attempt to meet, and we did meet. I met with Mike Downing, but basically it seems like consensus is that people are not very interested in meeting now since the lake level is not an issue. And I would say my primary interest would be that we would get the applicable parts of the lake level resolution case and that have those in the public domain so that the public could look at them. I know I mentioned that before, but I think it is those various discussions, reports, analyses are the most pertinent thing that we have about the possible issues at the lake level in the future. And so I would like to see those as part of maybe this website that we have, in some way available to the public. Otherwise, I think that the committee is pretty much on hold right now. I did try and contact Mike Downing, and he didn't respond to me, so I just feel like there isn't enough interest right now to really say it's legitimate, and so that's what I have to say.
Barton, do you want to leave the committee standing, or do you want to put her to sleep for a while?
Yeah, I think we need to put it in a standby state.
Yeah, we can all watch the lake level on our wonderful website that Kim takes care of for us, and we can see it day to day, and it's in wonderful shape right now. And maybe we'll sound an alarm when we get down to 922 or whatever number we think we need to be watching it for.
Right. And again, I personally would like to have all those documents so I could analyze, what's been said. We know it is a concern. It's an ongoing potential concern, and we have had above average rainfall, so it may be covering up a real problem. And but it's a very complex problem, and I see that, personally, I'm interested, but I don't have really the necessary expertise to take the next step. But it would be, anyway, as of right now, it doesn't seem like there's enough interest to meet.
Okay.
In terms of what's on the website, I think most of that is there in the archives. I don't have it in front of me to go and look for it, but I'll do that to see if we can organize it so that
People can see.
Yeah. I mean, since it's old archive stuff, it's not like front and center, but we did archive stuff so that theoretically you should be able to get all that. So I'll take a look at where it is.
Barton, just a comment. I sell real estate in the community, and I've had 3 or 4 clients this year that have made comments about what will the resolution, they're a little worried about making a significant investment on this lake without having a real clear idea of moving forward, what the plan is for the lake. And I assume that's what your committee is working on? I mean, that's the,
Well, I think they initially analyzed what are the possible solutions to a low lake level. And those have never been implemented. And the implementation are huge endeavors which really, a sort of encompassing all of the workings of the government in the local area and the state area to bring this to pass. So it doesn't seem like it's potentially viable, but it would take a lot more motivation. And the DNR has basically said that this was not caused by man-made water withdrawals, that it was a natural fluctuation. So they're not on board at all, and I think that, I don't know enough about it. Brian knows the most about this issue, and all I can say is that people have been writing in various ways that, we cannot continue to use water like we are, and that we're, with any kind of an expanding population, we will find out that the groundwater is not unlimited. But there certainly is no consensus that they're agreeing that the lake level is down because we were using too much water. At least the DNR is not saying. So, I mean, you probably have to get, and obviously the Senate and the legislature had people that really were not for having any kind of social constraints on water use mandated by the courts. And so they told us that they were not going to implement for at least a year any of the implications of the judge's decision. So there's not much motivation, and people don't want to be controlled that way, as it seems. But I guess, yeah, we'll have to wait for it to go down, before anything can happen.
I guess my point is just we should probably remain proactive in trying to figure out those resolutions, only because it's easy to be bullish when there's 8 new inches of water in the lake. And if you wait another 5-7 years to have these, something could change again, and all of a sudden Ramsey County Beach is closed for 9 years. So I just think it's probably important. I assume this committee works with the resolution committee, to get this resolution together. And I would think it would be a good idea for us to keep that ball in the air.
The problem is that it's a complex, you might have to get in with the Met Council, and apparently they were working with them. But now in order for them to, the solutions aren't very desirable, because they want to keep, people would want to keep White Bear Lake pure, so they don't want to put water from other sources into White Bear Lake. And they don't want to, this compelling everyone to use river water, I think, would be the best solution if it was necessary, but it's not as desirable. And so no one's going to do anything without major force. That's the way I see it.
Any more comments? Okay. Lake Quality Committee.
Lake quality, lake level today is 924.11. It was actually higher a few days back, but it's gone down. It was 924.14, so 3/100ths of a foot higher. 924.11, that's a foot higher than last year at this time. But, so this is the highest it's been since 2003. Well, since 2003, it's been less than that. It stayed in the 924, 925 range going back to 1993. It dipped down in 92, 91, 90, 90, 89. 87, it started to dip a little bit. We had a little bit of, but then it came back really fast in 92, 93, back up to the 924, 925 range. It bumped along in there up until 2003. Then it started to drop slowly, and then 2008 it went way down. And then you guys all know the history there. But if you want the history if you want to go back to 1943, it is, with all the lake levels. It's, you go to the DNR website and you go to Lake Finder, and you put in White Bear Lake and you put in Washington County, not Ramsey, Washington County. And it will come up and you will have a daily elevation going back to sometime in 1943. And you can see the fluctuations, and you can see, if you really looked at that and really studied it, you'd say, okay, it comes back. It does this and it comes back. And the range is over 7 feet that the lake fluctuates. It's like 7¼ feet. So the average of all that is 923.42. And so, we're above average. Ordinary high water mark is 924.89. So that's, people wanting 926, or maybe that's a little too much. But that's just an opinion. It has been up there. The highest it's been was 926.7, and that was in 1943 when they started keeping records. So there's a lot of stories I've heard over the years about what was done with these when it was too high, and the weir where the water runs out, and how they tried to adjust that and that type of thing. Right now, the water starts running out at 924.3. So we're actually getting close to that. But since that outlet is only 4 feet wide, not much goes out very fast. So don't worry about things dropping. If we should happen to get a bunch of rain and it goes up above that, it doesn't drop down that fast. It takes a long time to drain that much water out of the lake. So anyhow, today we're 924.11, good shape. Water temperature is 54 degrees. Last year at this time it was 54 degrees, so it's the same. It sure feels cold when you're in it. Then Steve McComas apologized not being able to make it. Then we have our I referred to them as phragmites, the reed growing, and that's the incorrect pronunciation is phragmite. And I was corrected by Alan, and then talking with the DNR afterwards, phragmite is definitely what it's called.
You didn't
The
believe me?
non-native phragmite.
You didn't take my word for it?
I believed you, absolutely. I didn't question you a bit. But when they started talking about phragmite, I knew I better not correct them, because I was wrong. Anyhow, I want to thank the board for acting quickly at the last meeting and setting aside some money for a treatment. I was ready to go that week, talked to the applicator. By the time the DNR got out to delineate it, it was a week and a half from our meeting. And by that time, the applicator felt that he could treat it, but he wouldn't be able to come back and see if the treatment was effective. So it was basically too late. So there was nothing done, but in talking with the DNR, I actually ran into them on the lake when they were doing the survey, that some of the bigger patches they found were 25 square feet, which is nothing. I mean, they were not concerned about it. It's going to be very manageable. Go around in the spring again and re-identify the plants. There's just little blotches of them here, there, and everywhere. Not everywhere, but here and there, 14 spots. And we can treat them. They're very treatable. And they're not a very high stand. They're not above what a normal phragmite is right now, but they can tell, an expert can tell the difference. I don't know, we're kind of neophytes on it, but the green stem versus a brown stem with a red flower and all this kind of stuff. But they'll find them, they'll identify them. The applicator certainly knows what they are. The best time to treat it, according to the University of Minnesota and the DNR and all the other websites that talk about it, is late August, September. So we'll be doing it in August. So we've got all summer to verify where all these places are. And we will treat them. And there's a very, very good chance that we could get rid of them in 1 year. Certainly, if we've treated them for 2 years, we'll get rid of them totally. Scott?
Yeah, I wonder, if it's not going to be till next August, I wonder if we can actually get anything out of Ramsey County, a grant?
That was if you follow the emails, you were copied on them. They were asked to participate, and when I said that we would take on the project because nobody else was going to do it, that I said that we would greatly appreciate help from Ramsey County.
Yes, I saw that, but then the email stopped.
Well, I left it, yeah.
Okay, I just wonder if we could actually,
Where they were sitting.
Well, yeah,
can we actually apply for something is what I'm wondering.
When we go for the permit in January, according to that's when the DNR wants us to apply for the permit is in January. Ben, we'll turn up the burners on that.
Yeah, I just don't want to be too late for their budget cycle, you
Yeah,
know?
that's true, that's true. Maybe I should send something out now.
Yeah, and I don't know what it's gonna cost. It doesn't sound like a whole lot.
No, it doesn't. And we don't have a big problem, and it's not that many, it's not that much, so.
It's just for all the fuss, I think they owe us.
I think so too. Any questions on anything? I'm done.
Very good, thank you. Lake Utilization Committee, we had one thing on the agenda. We also had the owner of Tallies come in, just for your information. He wants to reconfigure and put his fueling dock up closer to shore so they don't have to run 100 feet of hose out to where they currently are running it. So he would reconfigure it so there'd be 3 slips, not to be used for parking boats, but literally to pull your boat in and have them park it. He would have a pump, not on the current pump, he needs to change. And so the best way to do it, he felt, is he's actually going to put a barge, it's a fuel barge with sump pumps and everything on it, and the pump will actually be sitting on that tied up to shore or to the dock.
But the tank, where's the tank?
Tank stays.
Okay.
So we're just gonna have a lot less exposure to pipe then.
Right.
Sounds good.
Yep. So yeah, basically there'll be a pontoon, he calls it a fueling barge, but it's basically, he said it's like a pontoon that's contained with sumps in it in case there is a spill. And then basically it sounds like just a fuel pump on it. And then that will be attached to where the boats are pulling in to dock, so, and 2 hoses, so. Yeah.
Does that require a okay from us, or did you already give them?
We haven't given him anything. I think he was just running it by us.
Yeah, he seemed to he needed more numbers or something.
Yes. So,
I
Just-
mean, do we currently permit what his current configuration of that?
we don't do any of, but if, I would imagine that as it is now, if MPCA says it's okay and the DNR say it's okay, then it is up to us to decide whether we would like to have it done that way or not.
Sounds like he's trying to upgrade the delivery system.
That's exactly what he's trying to do. So with that being said, we had one thing on the agenda, Paddle Tap. He's not here right now, but my counterpart from Matamidi knows all about it, so he's going to explain.
I did, you sent the information on Paddle Tap around, and I did go online to look at it. I think they've been operating on Lake Minnetonka for a number of years. And what it is a small pontoon boat, basically, that's powered by people sitting at this bar paddling, you know, like bicycle pedals. And it's like the little beer bikes you see running around in Minneapolis right now. It looks like a lot of fun. He's been successful. The only question I had of him was liability. He said he carries a nice big policy, and I don't think we have any other issues with it. It's going to be docked at Brian McGoldrick's place. So he's got a slip over there, and that's where he's going to run the business from.
Huh. Now, we had talked about this like last year, and they never got around to it.
They never put it on.
They never
I think it
put
might
it
have been
on.
on 3 years ago.
Yeah, he
Yeah.
wants to do it this year. I mean, it looks like, because you used to have to paddle through about 4 feet of mud to get out to the open water, you know,
So
from,
we can do it now.
now it's going to work.
Okay.
So.
Okay,
anyway,
I was just kind of wondering what happened to it, but
Yeah, it's come back to life. I think it looks like a lot of fun. I know my kids would get involved.
What kind of noise ordinance are we going to have on that?
We mentioned it to him. We asked, do you have a stereo? And he said, yeah, but it's nothing that, I mean, most boats have louder stereos than that. He's like,
He'd probably have a portable boombox to bring on board. And
yeah, I think it's just,
I think he stipulated to Jimmy Buffett and the Beach Boys, so I think everybody.
we told him that's been a problem with some of those party boats before. And he said they've been on Minnetonka for 4 years with no accidents, incidents, or complaints. So also there is a motor on it. He goes, they really only paddle for about 20 minutes.
You go downwind too far. And
So I asked him, he goes, no, we go all the way around the lake. And I'm like, you're drinking beer and paddling all the way around the lake? But, so anyways, at the LUC, are there any other questions? I'm sorry. Yes.
Did he provide an insurance binder?
No, so I'm going to move to approve this, given that he has to turn his in insurance before it's all okay. And then also any copies of the leases that he has with Brian McGoldrick as well, so we know exactly where the boat's going to be. And he has to, it's a BYOB, but there's some kind of process they have to do with the city to make it available to drink on the boat. So he has to take care of that with the city. We don't have any kind of
Yeah.
thing
He's
about
got
that.
quite a few things actually to do before he's
Right,
up to code.
before May. Yeah.
I think he's up to code. I think he just.
Yeah, he just needs to get his,
We would
he needs to get his
feel
paperwork
comfortable
turned
getting a
in.
Look at his
Yeah.
insurance.
Insurance, yeah.
That's mainly what we're worried about, is our liability on us.
So we're going to approve it with about 4
Conditionally,
conditions.
yeah.
Conditionally, that he brings in the lease, the insurance, and anything, I'll check with the city to see if he has to do anything with the city, but we'll make sure
Counselor,
he's
do you know
compliant.
anything that he might, other issues he might face from the city?
Chair and board, I would have guessed that he's going to have to do a license because he has a business actually operating in the city. Terrestrially, he's going to have beer on there. Did he mention anything about food to soak up some of this, or is this the exercise going to take care of it?
It's only a 90-minute tour, so we're not talking about an all-day deal.
He did not mention food. I didn't think to ask him.
But it's bring your own beer.
But it's bring your own, he's not selling alcohol.
Okay, so it's not a keg that people are all
No.
drinking off of?
They
All
have
right.
to bring their own.
Yeah, so it sounds like aside from, I'm not even sure how much permitting is required with you guys, really.
Yeah.
So as long as they're insured and they're operating safely and everything's cool with Docks of White Bear Lake, I think we're all good.
You want
So-
me to move it pending
Pending.
those three conditions?
Insurance?
I think then we only need to have insurance and lease.
Okay, I move to approve pending insurance and lease.
Second.
I'd like to make sure that the city doesn't have any objection to it too, since it's going to be in the White Bear area.
Well, if the city has an objection, they can object.
And they're gone.
Yeah. I mean, we don't really get involved with, like I said, terrestrial type, what they need to do to be licensed to work out of the city of White Bear Lake.
Yeah, I understand they aren't going to be selling any beer, but
No.
are they going to be selling anything else? T-shirts, beer nuts? No. Because,
No.
I mean, we do have a ordinance for that, too.
Yeah, it didn't, he said we're not selling anything. He said
Okay.
everybody brings their own stuff.
Everything.
So they're renting the boat.
Basically, they're renting the boat.
And they bring their own nuts.
Yep. So,
We have
with
a
motion and a second, all those in favor? Aye. Opposed?
Me?
Okay. Next. Lake Education Committee.
Yeah, we've been continuing to work on the website. We now have some fresh photos on there. That is, I talked with Irina about it, and we have like 8 photos on there, which are sort of full. We don't have that many perfect fall pictures, but it does have a fall feel to it. We got permission from a couple photographers off the internet. So we got some nice pictures up there. And then sometime in December or so, we'll put up a winter collection. We could use more winter pictures. I think we want to get pictures of all the events that we permit. If we can get some sort of artsy pictures, high resolution, that would be great. The only other thing is we are eventually going to upgrade the display of the ordinances on there. I finally got around to looking at them this morning because Alan had so nicely updated stuff, and we'll have a PDF. And I raised a few issues about what I saw. We have 18 ordinances. That is, our highest ordinance number is 18, but there's only 11 active ordinances because we've replaced them. There's one that I guess I don't really like how it was done, but it's all historical, so I'm not sure what we want to do with it. what is it, ordinance 7 isn't, if you read it, it's not accurate because it was amended by ordinance 13.
Okay.
And the only thing that 13's there for is amending 7. But if you just read 7, it's wrong. You have to also read 13. You know, it just seems like it's a confusing way of organizing it. And I think Alan suggested in an email that we can give that to the executive committee and figure out, do we want to recodify everything? Do we want to just create an ordinance 19 and actually do what we've done with all these other ordinances, you know, delete 7 and 13 and have it all current text?
Okay.
Or whatever you want to do. But I'd like to suggest that for the executive committee.
Very good.
And when at any point, once we have something that's better than what's there, you know, we could put it up.
Right.
Maybe what Alan did is better if we get it cleaned up.
Looks better.
Yeah.
I mean, it's more digestible now. If people just went there off of what I sent to Scott or what he has, it's really downloadable as a simple PDF. So they would get it all in one shot, if you will.
Gotcha.
But I think it's probably better policy to have the rules segmented by sort of subject area instead of just a series of non-sequential numbered ordinances.
Right.
Because it's just the human mind, at least this human mind, wouldn't work that way. When I went to look for the rules, I'd want to know what can I do in the lake that requires a permit. I'd want to know what the speed limit is. I'd want to know things like that, sort of nuts and bolts, you know, lay people term questions that I would want answered. And I think it'd be a worthwhile exercise for the executive committee to look at that.
Okay.
You know, ordinances and resolutions are nice to make the law and to change what they are currently, but because of the way it's been done historically, it leaves you with these awkward, you know, 1 to 3 to 5 to 13, and you have to dovetail back and look at one versus the other, and on top of that, it really doesn't give you a sense of what the ordinance actually does. So you have to get into the meat of it to actually see what it is that you can or can't do, so.
Right. I know you gave me a printed copy. I don't have the PDF.
I'll send it to you.
Yeah, you can send it. Actually, I'd like a few, like, changes to how it looks in terms of how it's paginated and that kind
Yeah,
of
and some
thing.
of that
If you know
doesn't
how to
translate.
use Word. Otherwise, you can send me the Word file and I can fix it up with the table of contents and stuff.
Yeah, and I did it just, I saved the Word document so that it became more portable to be sort
Right.
of delivered to you guys, but I can send you both, so.
Yeah. Yeah, because without changing a word of it, I can format it a little
Yeah,
better.
and I'd already formatted, so it wasn't quite done. I think that's what I'd mentioned last time, was that there were still a few
Yeah.
gaps and a few,
Yeah, what I'd
It's kinda
like
bodgy in some
is
spots.
have each ordinance start on a new page.
little
and-
things like that, for
Yeah,
sure.
and have a footer that has the ordinance number. Because I had a hard time paging through it, finding out where it switched from 12 to 4.
Start, stop,
Yeah,
yeah.
so, just nits.
I will send that to you.
Okay. And we'll get it up there.
Do you have a question?
When, the reason, you want to know why they got the odd numbers?
What do you mean?
It was advice of counsel at the time, and it was in reference to, let's say, ordinance 1, and we had an issue, and it was solved by the use of ordinance 1, whatever ordinance 1 was. And then historically, that goes into the record that this person was allowed to do that based on ordinance 1. Then we come along and we change ordinance 1, so we couldn't keep it as ordinance 1. Advice of counsel says, historically, you go back and try to interpret something, and it says ordinance 1, and you're reading ordinance 1, and it's not the right ordinance. It doesn't make sense. So that's why they historically kept ordinance 1, even though it was replaced by ordinance 3, and maybe later by ordinance 5.
Yeah, and I mean,
That's-
one's not on the website right now.
Well, I don't know what the
because
numbers
it's
are, I
irrelevant.
don't know, but that's why you have non-sequential, you just have these numbers.
Yeah, I get how it's sort of leapfrogs forward, but most of the time, most cities would have a code, and then as you amend it, you make the notation at the bottom saying that it was amended. And so if something was grandfathered in or whatever because it was passed under a different law, you always use what's current, and you would note, hey, this was passed when this other version was active, but you don't throw out the law, change it, and then call it a new law.
Well,
But that's what you're doing.
But you could go back and footnote the original, say, C,
And that's what most cities would do. So a lot of cities will see a series of amendments, and even if you go into the reviser's statute under state law, you'll see the series of bills that have been passed, even the law that organized this very body, has been amended, to add things and do whatnot. So that's just the way it's normally done. You don't, the baby in
Yeah.
bathwater, I think there's an old saying. So,
Well, we do it two different ways in what we've got, so it's kind of a jumble. But
Okay.
it would be nice if it were
We'll
cleaner.
we'll
it'd
definitely.
be nice to have it really codified as more of a code instead of just a series of ordinances. So that's a big lift for sure, because it means having to set it up, as more of a code book. But at least that way you have, here's the law, and as you change it, you don't say we have a new law, we just amend what already is the regulation on the books, so.
Okay. Well, I just, first of all, want to thank both of you for all the work you've been doing with this. It's very helpful. And we will bring it up, and I'll talk to Diane and Brian, and we'll bring it up in the next executive committee meeting.
Thank you. I have nothing else to add for education report.
Okay, thank you. Treasurer's report, Diane's not here, so I can't answer any of your questions if you have them, but approval of the treasurer's report as of 10/16/28.
so moved.
covering check numbers.
Oh, and isn't that down here? Never mind. Okay, I'd like to move to approve check numbers 4525 to check number 4531.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Okay, that goes. And then board council report.
Acting chair and board, I guess I was going to highlight a little bit of what Scott did, so since we already had that discussion, I would stand for any questions otherwise.
Very good.
There you go.
Thank you, Alan. Consent agenda, approval to transfer funds from savings account to checking account to cover checks being processed. I so move.
Second?
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? The next thing on here, so we have to keep our website domain, and Diane's left some options that we have to pay it. And so you can see there that's for 3 years, 113, 5 years, 184, 9 years, 314, 20 years, 659.
Cost per year at 20 is $32.99 per year. So you get a significant savings by going to the laundry.
Yeah, it would be my opinion that the lake's going to be here in 20 years, and hopefully so is this board. So I would also say just to pay it now and have it over with. Any thoughts on that?
It's the cheapest long run. If we've got the money, let's do it.
Okay, I move to pay for renewal of the website domain for 20 years at $659.80.
Second.
Any discussion?
I will add that I did discuss this with Wirebuilt, and they shared my annoyance with the fact that the people that, see, basically you buy the domain and then re-register it every so many years from an authorized registrar. And there's more than one, and you could find a cheaper alternative, but it's such a mess to try to move your domain to another registrar. I mean, all of these registrars advertise that it's only $1 a year. This is not $1 a year, so it's, that's just for new domains, I guess. So he did recommend that we just pay it and move on.
We have, I believe we have a motion in a second, right?
Yeah.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Passes. Announcements. Kim?
had an audit from unemployment, and they came out and went through our stuff, and we passed with the flying colors, so everything is fine. But that's all I have that was new that we had to take care of. So.
Thank you, Kim. That should conclude it. I move to adjourn.
Second?
All those, discussion? All those in favor? Aye. Thank you, gentlemen, ladies.